Dr. Kurian. Dr. Kurian easily earns a spot on the list of one of the most deserved deaths in Z Nation. This is the guy who looked at human suffering and thought, yeah, let's make this worse. Before the world fell apart, he was already out there experimenting on people like they were lab rats, with zero guilt and a massive ego to match. He had no rules, no limits, no conscience. Even after the apocalypse, Kurian never learned. He kept lying, kept manipulating, and kept putting everyone in danger because he believed he was smarter than everyone else in the room. That arrogance is what finally caught up to him. When things went sideways, he got his head chopped clean off. And the irony? That wasn't even the end. His still living head got stuffed into a box and treated like a creepy science toy before being presumably destroyed for good. After everything he did to others, being reduced to a talking head was the perfect ending. Tobias Campbell. This dude, Tobias Campbell, was a real piece of work. Back in Season 1, he was running a scam under the fancy name Sisters of Mercy. But let's be real, it was nothing but a creepy cult. Tobias was the worst kind of manipulator. He used and exploited women in his camp, and if you were a guy who wandered in, forget about it. You were probably ending up as dinner for his main enforcer, a terrifying, caged zombie known only as the Zombie Bear. Yes, you heard that right, a literal zombie bear. This guy was a total monster, hiding his awful cannibalism and exploitation behind a fake, kindly front. Honestly, he had it coming from the start. But the universe, or maybe just the writers, decided to give him a perfect, beautiful dose of poetic justice. After trying to escape, Tobias found himself exactly where all his unfortunate male victims ended up. He was left alone, cornered, and ultimately torn apart by the very same raging, undead bear he used to terrorize everyone else. You simply can't write a more deserved ending than getting eaten by your own pet horror show. What a way to go out. Lena. Lena de los Muertos ruled the Zeros cartel with an iron fist. As a powerful drug lord before the outbreak, she built a safe compound in Mexico, but her true goal was control over humanity. She captured Murphy to use his blood for a fake vaccine that would create loyal half-zombies. This would let her rule as a godlike figure. She forced the team into deadly games like fighting zombies in a pit and tortured others without mercy. Her doctor, Kurian, helped trick people into taking the serum, turning them into blends under Murphy's influence. Lena showed no care for lives lost, even killing her own if they failed her. Her greed and cruelty made her one of the worst villains, always putting power above all else. She deserved her end for trying to enslave the world through lies and violence. Her end came after a brutal fight with Roberta Warren. She was impaled and killed by Escorpion. It was a massive win for Warren, who proved she was the true alpha, Lieutenant Mark Hammond. Lieutenant Mark Hammond was a tough Delta Force soldier before the zombies took over. He was all about the mission and nothing else. When the world fell apart, he helped test an experimental vaccine on prisoners. Murphy was the only one who survived the bites and became immune. So Hammond made it his job to get Murphy across the country to a lab in California. He saw the cure as the only thing that mattered. People were just tools to help him finish it. When he found the main survivor group, he pulled a gun on them and forced them to join. He did not ask nicely or care about their lives. He only wanted results. His cold way of treating everyone made him hard to like. He pushed too hard and took big risks without thinking about the danger to others. In the end, his focus on the goal blinded him to simple threats around him. While searching for a zombie baby, he got caught off guard by zombies and was mauled. The group gave him mercy to stop his suffering. Escorpion. Escorpion's first death is one of those moments in Z Nation that felt overdue in the best way. At this point, he was the face of cruelty. As the main enforcer for the Zeros, Escorpion made a hobby out of breaking people, especially Vasquez. He tortured him, wiped out his family, and made sure the pain was personal and nonstop. This guy was straight up evil with a smile, and so when Vasquez finally gets his hands on him in the pit, it hits different. There's years of anger finally boiling over. Watching Vasquez stand over the man who destroyed his life feels like justice finally clocking in for work. The fight is raw, ugly, and emotional. Exactly how it should be. Even knowing Escorpion later finds some form of redemption doesn't erase this moment. At the time, this defeat was earned, satisfying, and absolutely deserved. Gideon Gould. Man, let's talk about a guy who wouldn't let the apocalypse ruin his bad habits. Gideon Gould was a smooth-talking corporate speaker before the world ended, and he just brought his whole act to a zombie-packed hotel. He ruled his little survivor group with boring meetings, a talking stick, and mind games. Dude was nothing but a manipulator. He made people vote on everything to feel like they had a say, while he really pulled all the strings. He stole food, blamed others for it, and even threw an innocent guy named Iggy out to die just to keep control. He used fancy words to hide the fact he was a selfish, lying fraud. His end was perfect. When the truth came out and his own people saw him for what he was, they turned on him. The guy he banished, Iggy, came back covered in blood and just whacked him over the head with his own stupid talking stick. The Collector. Meet Dean, better known as the Collector, a wild guy with a twisted hobby in the zombie world of Z Nation. He roams around, trapping all sorts of odd zombies and even famous folks turned undead, like a zombie version of George R.R. Martin.
Room presenting George R.R. Martin.
Who the hell's that?
Who he keeps signing books forever. Dean sees himself as a scientist, but he's just a nutty fan building his own creepy museum underground. Things get personal when he captures Murphy, the key to a possible cure, slaps a shock collar on him, and treats him like a prize exhibit. He pokes and prods Murphy, takes samples, and even forces him into a fake interview, zapping him whenever he fights back. Dean's plan is to test Murphy's bite on young 10K, just to see what happens. But oh, how the tables turn. It's clear this guy's earned his spot on the deserved deaths list for his cruel games. So Murphy taps into his mind powers and turns Dean's own zombie collection against him. They swarm and devour their keeper alive, giving him a fitting, ironic finish in his beloved museum. The Man. The Man was the coolest, scariest guy you never wanted to meet. He was a silent, unstoppable force working for the mysterious group Zona. With his creepy prosthetic hand and zero emotion, he was like a Terminator for the apocalypse. His job was simple: collect targets, no questions asked. He shot our friend Nature Boy, killed the kind Pa and Ma Kettle in cold blood, and kidnapped Murphy's daughter Lucy, putting her through hell. He did it all without breaking a sweat, making him a villain you love to hate. His end was epic. After a brutal, season-long chase, he finally met his match in a furious Addy. Their final fight ended with them both tumbling off a massive cliff. Even though fans argued if he survived the fall, the point was made. He was finally stopped. The unstoppable man was taken down by pure, raw determination, and it was incredibly satisfying to watch him fall. Dante. Lieutenant Joseph Dante is one of those characters whose end feels sad, but also completely deserved in the harsh logic of Z Nation. On paper, he sounds noble, a former Marine, loyal to George, a man who claims he's laid down his life more than once. But once the world ended, Dante crossed a line he could never walk back from. After dying and coming back as a talker, he chooses to survive and exist in a twisted middle ground. Still alive, still thinking, but feeding on brains and being kept functional with Z biscuits. That alone should have been a red flag. Dante embraced his role, stood beside George, and helped uphold a new world that treated people like tools and food. Loyalty doesn't excuse that. You can't build a future on cruelty and expect a clean ending. His choices tied him to that world whether he liked it or not. So, when Dante is found tortured and broken, the tone shifts. His death became a consequence. And when George finally gives him mercy, it feels less like a kindness and more like closing a chapter that never should have existed. Tragic, yes, but earned. Roman Estes. Now let's turn our attention to a guy who missed the point of the apocalypse. This dude, Roman Estes, was the CEO of this company called BizZ. Even with zombies running around, he was still focused on being super rich and having all the control. He was the final human bad guy we had to deal with in the whole series, and his plan was genuinely messed up. Estes wanted to use this stuff called lithium to basically zombify the talkers, the smart talking zombies, and turn them into a slave army. He wanted to build a corporate empire on the backs of the undead. Seriously? His whole garbage scheme finally blew up in his face in the series finale. With his plan to reset the world totally ruined, Estes was finally taken out. His death was the end of all that selfish corporate greed that had been dragging everyone down. Pandora! Pandora was the worst kind of follower. She loved doing the dirty work of her boss, Roman Estes. She wore this creepy mask to hide her own rotting face. It was the perfect symbol for her whole deal, trying to look tough while falling apart inside. Her whole job was to ruin the dream of New America. She bombed peaceful meetings, set zombie hordes on survivors, and helped enslave talkers just to keep her boss in power. She got a real kick out of being cruel. Watching people suffer seemed to be her only hobby. Her end was fast and perfect. During the final fight in Altura, she couldn't hide behind her mask or her boss anymore. She was just another bad guy in the way when everything came crashing down. Getting killed in that last battle was a quick, quiet end for someone who caused so much loud, messy pain. A good riddance to a bad person. Dr. Marilyn Murch. Dr. Marilyn Murch's death in Z Nation stands out as one of the most deserved. From the very beginning, she was the scientist who injected Murphy with the experimental vaccine, setting off a chain of events that shaped the entire apocalypse. While she later tried to make amends, her early choices showed a lack of ethics and compassion. She treated human lives like test subjects, and the fallout from her work caused more suffering than solutions. Even when she resurfaced, her role was tangled in manipulation, control, and experiments that blurred the line between saving humanity and destroying it. By season 3, the weight of her actions finally caught up with her. Struggling between her human side and the control Murphy had over her, she realized that her science had only created more pain. In a final act of acceptance, she walked straight into a horde of zombies, ending her life on her own terms.
Stop! Don't do it! Stop!
It was a quiet but fitting end. Which do you think was the most deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, like and subscribe. Thanks, I'll see you on this next one.